The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days when Daniel Price walked into Mara Ellison's office, his shoes dripping small puddles of despair onto the cracked linoleum. "She was just supposed to film a weekend piece," he said, voice trembling beneath the hum of a flickering fluorescent. Mara didn't look up from her notes. Evelyn Price. Last check-in, Briarcliff Inn, Route 89. A pause, then. No record of her checking out. The sentence hung there, weightless yet heavy. Mara's pen stopped mid-scratch. Outside, thunder rolled across the city skyline like a warning. "You ever stayed in a place that remembers too much?" she asked. Daniel frowned. "I just want my sister back." She looked up then, meeting his eyes. "Then we'll start where she ended." The rain thickened. Somewhere far away, a phone rang once, then never again. The highway curled through the mountains like a dark ribbon soaked in rain. Mara's wipers thrashed against the windshield, the rhythmic squeak blending with the distant crack of thunder. Daniel sat in the passenger seat, silent except for the occasional sigh that fogged the glass. "You sure this is the right turnoff?" he asked. Mara nodded, eyes locked on the road. "There's only one road up to the Briarcliff." The GPS flickered and died, leaving only static. Pines lined both sides of the mountain pass, their silhouettes bending under wind like watchful sentinels. The radio crackled, and for a moment Evelyn's voice slipped through, laughter caught in static, before fading into silence. Daniel's hand tightened on the dash. Mara didn't react. "Sometimes," she murmured, "missing people don't want to be found." When the inn finally appeared through the fog, it didn't look abandoned. It looked waiting. Its peaked roof and dark windows rose from the mist like a ghost, surfacing for air. "I thought it'd be smaller," Daniel whispered. The car slowed on the gravel drive, crunching through puddles that reflected the warped image of the building above. A lone neon sign flickered weakly. "Briarcliff Inn, since 1912. No cars, no lights. Just that slow, relentless hum of isolation." Mara killed the engine, listening. The rain softened, replaced by something stranger, the faint echo of a music box tune carried by wind. "Hear that?" Daniel asked. Mara stepped out, rain soaking her shoulders. "Yeah," she said softly. "It's coming from inside." The lobby smelled of wood, polish, and forgotten air. Thomas Calder appeared from behind the counter with the practiced smile of a man who'd repeated the same greeting for decades. "Evening," he said, voice gravelly yet polite. "We don't get many visitors this time of year." Mara flashed her badge. "Detective Ellison. We're looking for a guest. Evelyn Price." The caretaker's eyes flicked toward a ledger, then back to her. "Ah, room 213. His tone flattened like a note played wrong. "Hasn't been used in years." Daniel stepped forward, anger cracking through his restraint. "That's impossible," she called from here. Thomas hesitated, then forced a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "You must be mistaken, sir. Some rooms don't check out the same way the others do." The hallway upstairs creaked with every cautious step. Mara's flashlight swept across peeling wallpaper and tarnished brass numbers. 210, 211, 212. "Here," Thomas said, stopping. "Next door's sealed." "Been that way a long time?" He handed Mara a key, his hand trembling just slightly. The air was colder here, as if the walls exhaled memory. Mara unlocked room 212 and stepped inside. The room was tidy. Too tidy. Sheets perfectly folded, air thick with lavender and dust. Daniel lingered in the doorway, eyes darting to the sealed door beside theirs. "You think she..." "Don't," Mara cut in. "Not yet." She moved toward the vent. From somewhere deep inside, faint humming rose. Soft. Female. Almost familiar. The morning light barely reached the lobby through dust-thick glass. Mara sat, hunched over the hotel's guest ledger, tracing each entry with her gloved finger. The pages were brittle, yellowed, ink smudged by time. "Here," she said quietly. "Last signature, Evelyn Price, 3 weeks ago." Daniel leaned over her shoulder, breath caught. "No checkout date. None of them have one," Mara replied, eyes narrowing at the repetition of empty lines below each name. Thomas stood behind the counter, face pale. "That book's older than me," he muttered. "Some say the ink fades when the guest is no longer here." Mara shut the ledger sharply. "Ink doesn't fade without reason." Her reflection in the glass behind him didn't blink when she did. Later that afternoon, Mara found Thomas in the maintenance hallway, staring at a breaker panel covered in dust and cobwebs. "Power's been unreliable since the storm," he muttered. "This place doesn't like too much light." Mara stepped closer, voice steady. "You said room 213's sealed. Who sealed it?" He hesitated, the fluorescent light above him stuttering. "The owner, long gone now, said it needed to stay shut, for everyone's sake." His eyes shifted, darting toward the corridor that led upstairs. "Detective, you shouldn't go near that room. It listens." A low hum passed through the walls, and a single bulb popped, plunging them into momentary darkness. Mara didn't flinch. "Rooms don't listen," she said, though the words rang hollow in the silence that followed. Mara sat in the back office, reviewing the hotel's repair records, pages filled with outdated maintenance logs. One entry caught her attention, dated 40 years ago. "Water leakage in 213. Guest reported hearing voices through the pipes." Another followed. "No further complaints. Guest never checked out." She exhaled sharply. Daniel leaned against the doorframe, reading over her shoulder. "Same handwriting every decade," he said softly. "Who keeps writing these?" Mara flipped the pages. Each decade signed T. Calder. She looked up at him, realization dawning. Same name, same man. Daniel shook his head, disbelief painted across his face. That can't be possible. But from the hallway came the faint sound of humming again. Evelyn's tune, slow and sorrowful. That night, the power failed again. Mara moved through the second-floor hallway with her flashlight, the beam cutting narrow tunnels through the dark. The rain outside had stopped, leaving only the drip of runoff from the eaves. When she passed room 213, she froze. Behind the frosted glass window of the door, a shape stood still. Tall, unmoving, unmistakably human. "Daniel," she whispered, not taking her eyes off it. He hurried beside her, shining his own light. The silhouette didn't move. "Someone's inside," he said. "No," Mara murmured, lowering her voice. "Something's waiting." As she reached for the knob, the light inside flickered once, and the shadow vanished. Mara tried the knob. It didn't turn. The keyhole was filled with wax, hard and old. "Someone wanted this shut for good," she whispered. Daniel pressed closer, straining to hear through the door. A faint, rhythmic tapping came from within, slow and deliberate. 3 beats, a pause, then one more. "What is that?" he asked. Mara didn't answer. She pressed her ear to the door. The tapping stopped. Then from the vent below, a soft whisper drifted out. "You shouldn't be here." Daniel staggered back, eyes wide. Mara's hand remained on the door, fingers trembling. "She's still in there," she breathed. "Or something that wants us to think she is. And you knew." By morning, the storm had passed, leaving a pale, bruised sky over the Briarcliff. Mara sat on the floor of room 212, surrounded by Evelyn's belongings. Her backpack, camera tripod, and a shattered phone. "This was staged," Mara said softly, examining the phone's cracked screen. "Someone wanted us to find it like this." Daniel crouched beside her, eyes scanning the scattered contents. She wouldn't just leave her gear. Mara pried open the camera's memory slot and slid out a hidden SD card, smudged with faint fingerprints. She inserted it into her laptop, the fan whirring to life. The screen flickered. Evelyn's face appeared mid-frame, whispering something just above a hush. "If you find this, don't open the door." The video began innocently. Evelyn's cheerful voice narrated her arrival. "Hey guys, so I'm at the Briarcliff Inn. Total vintage vibe." She spun the camera around, revealing the grand lobby, the same chandelier still flickering above Mara's head. Then her tone shifted. The next clip jumped, static filling the gaps. Evelyn whispered now, camera shaking slightly. "There's someone in the next room. I keep hearing footsteps, slow ones like they know I'm recording." A thump off screen made her flinch. "It's late," she said. "I'm signing off for the night. Wish me luck." The screen faded to black. The timestamp 3 minutes before her last known call. Mara replayed the clip frame by frame, her detective's patience hardening into dread. A faint whisper laced the background, barely audible until isolated. She boosted the gain, and Evelyn's soft breathing became clear. Then beneath it, another voice, lower, male, muttering words in rhythm with the drip of water. "Stay! Stay!" Daniel flinched. "That's not her." Mara leaned closer. "No, it's the same pitch as the vent recordings I found last night." She looked up toward the grate above them. The whisper came again, faint yet unmistakable, echoing not from the computer, but from the wall itself. Later, Mara splashed cold water on her face in the small bathroom sink, staring at her reflection in the cracked mirror. For a second, she saw Evelyn's face staring back, eyes wide, lips parted, as though the mirror had borrowed another memory. The lights flickered. The air smelled faintly of ozone. "You're tired," she told herself, voice steadier than her pulse. Daniel's muffled shout echoed from the other room. "It's starting again!" She turned, rushing out. The laptop screen now showed Evelyn walking toward room 213, camera trembling in her hand. A whisper played backward through the speakers. "You opened it." Mara paused the footage again, scrolling back to a single frame where Evelyn's camera panned the room. There, on the far wall, hung a mirror identical to the one in Mara's bathroom. But within its reflection, Evelyn wasn't alone. A second figure stood behind her, tall, half-shadowed, watching. "There," Daniel whispered, pointing. Mara leaned closer. The reflection's face was wrong, blurred, ageless, eyes like static. As she zoomed in, the screen glitched. The image of the room flickered to the current time, showing Mara and Daniel themselves, seated exactly as they were now. And behind them, for one breath-stopping instant, the door to room 213 stood open. For a moment, the screen glowed white, and then every light in the Briarcliff died. Mara's laptop hissed into static, its battery light pulsing like a heartbeat. "It's looping," Daniel whispered. "We're in the same frame she was." Mara turned toward the sealed door. The faint outline of 213 shimmered as if reflected underwater. "No," she murmured. "We're being watched through it." The static deepened into a low hum that pressed against their eardrums. Evelyn's voice slipped between frequencies, words forming from the hiss. "He opened it for me. Now it opens for you." A cold gust slid beneath the door, and for an instant, Mara thought she saw movement on the other side. Shadows pacing, patient. Mara didn't remember falling asleep. One blink she was staring at the laptop, and the next she was standing barefoot in the hotel corridor. Everything was silent. The wallpaper was pristine now, freshly painted, the chandelier above gleaming like new. Music drifted from the dining hall, a waltz, elegant and slow. At the end of the corridor, room 213's door stood open. "Evelyn?" she called. A woman in a yellow sweater stepped from the room, smiling. "You made it," Evelyn said softly. Her voice was both echo and whisper. "You shouldn't have come alone." Mara reached for her, but the hall darkened, walls rotting in seconds. When she blinked, she was back in the room, the waltz still faintly playing from nowhere. The air in room 212 pulsed. The wallpaper expanded and contracted, as if the building itself was breathing. Daniel pressed a trembling palm against the wall. "It's alive," he whispered. Mara scanned the vent. Not alive. Remembering. A faint sound echoed through the metal ducts. A heartbeat, slow and steady. Her recorder, left on the bed, switched on by itself. Static gave way to layered voices, overlapping in a dreadful chorus. Each whispered the same words. "Check in." "Stay a while." Daniel stumbled back, pressing his hands over his ears. Mara grabbed the recorder, her own voice suddenly among the whispers, repeating the same phrase, distorted and hollow. Unable to stand the noise, Mara tore the carpet back. Beneath it lay a trapdoor, sealed with nails and wax, the wood stained dark from something old. She pried one corner open, revealing a narrow void filled with forgotten belongings. Old shoes, guest keys, a rusted bellhop tag, and then a stack of photographs, each showing the same room across decades, each with a new guest standing by the window, eyes vacant. In the latest, Evelyn smiled faintly, one hand raised toward the photographer, as if warning them. Mara's hand trembled as she pulled the photo closer. The reflection in the window wasn't Evelyn's. It was her own. Thomas found them hours later, or maybe it was minutes. Time had dissolved. "You shouldn't have disturbed it," he rasped, staring at the photos in Mara's hands. "Every guest who looks back brings it closer." Mara rose slowly, the photographs trembling between her fingers. "You knew," she said. "You always knew." Thomas nodded, eyes shining with weary defeat. The Briar Cliff was built on silence. The rooms don't let go of voices once they've been heard. A low groan rumbled through the floor. The chandelier swayed. Daniel turned toward the hallway just as every door opened in unison, empty, yet echoing with footsteps. Mara whispered, "Then it's already awake." Mara spread the photographs across the counter of the abandoned reception desk. The ledger still lay open where she'd left it. "You've been writing these names," she said quietly. Thomas stood motionless, his face half shadowed by the swinging chandelier. "I record what the hotel remembers," he murmured. "I never write alone." Mara's voice hardened. "You wrote your name every decade, did you?" "Pet," called her. "Same handwriting for 40 years. He smiled faintly. "I was hired in 1984, but the hotel has had a Thomas Calder since 1912. It gives the name to whoever stays longest." Mara's stomach tightened. "Then who was the first?" His eyes flickered upward. "The one who opened the door." "The hotel was once a sanatorium," Thomas said, voice trembling but measured. "Patients checked in to heal. Some never left. They sealed 213 after the last one vanished. An orderly named Elias Calder," he said. The walls whispered. Said the room wanted to remember him. He stared into the dark hall, eyes wet with ghosts. When they sealed it, the whisper didn't stop. It just moved on, to whoever listened. Mara crossed her arms, trying to mask the chill rising along her spine. "And now it's listening to us." Thomas nodded once. "The hotel doesn't take people. They give themselves to it, piece by piece, every time they look back." That night, Mara couldn't sleep. She sat beside the vent in room 212, recorder in hand, waiting. Around 3 a.m., a faint voice emerged. Evelyn's. "I tried to leave," it whispered, broken by static. "It remembers what you forget." Mara pressed her ear closer. "What did you see?" she whispered back. The reply came in two overlapping tones, Evelyn's and another deeper one beneath it. "You." Mara stumbled back, the recorder still running. Daniel rushed from his bed, pale with fear. "She's talking to you." Mara shook her head slowly, voice hollow. No, she's talking through me. At dawn, Mara found a second ledger, its cover identical to the first, but the entries were reversed, written backward as if mirrored. Her own name appeared at the bottom, dated that very morning. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Whoa." Daniel leaned over, voice shaking. "It's writing itself." As they watched, new ink bled across the page, spelling checked in. The line beneath it remained blank. "That's your handwriting," Daniel said. "You signed in." Mara's hands trembled. "No," she said. "It's showing me what happens next." The last line began to form, letters slow and deliberate. No one ever checks out. Thomas met them at the stairwell, his expression hollowed by years of unspoken truth. "It wants witnesses," he said softly. "It feeds on those who believe they're only observing." Mara stepped closer. "And you?" His eyes glistened. "I checked in as a caretaker in 1984. I thought I'd help close it down. The next morning, I woke up as Thomas called her." He took a trembling breath. "There's always a Thomas. Always a ledger. Always a detective who thinks she can end it." Mara stared at him, realization dawning cold. "Then I'm already written." He nodded. "You were written the moment you arrived." Mara stood before room 213 once more. The hallway lights flickered like dying stars, the silence heavy as breath before confession. The wax seal on the keyhole was gone. In its place, a single brass key protruded halfway from the lock, as though someone had left it waiting. "You didn't put that there," Daniel said. Mara shook her head. "No one did." The air smelled faintly of lavender and dust, Evelyn's scent lingering in the stillness. Thomas's voice echoed faintly from below, distant yet clear. "It opens itself when it's ready." Mara wrapped her fingers around the key. The metal was warm, pulsing faintly, as if alive. The door opened with a sigh, wood against wood, memory against air. The room beyond was immaculate, linens crisp, curtains gently swaying as if stirred by an unseen hand. Sunlight poured in through a window that should have faced a wall. "It's different," Daniel murmured. "It looks new." Mara stepped across the threshold. The moment she did, sound dulled. The hum of the building vanished, replaced by a faint ticking, like a clock buried under the floorboards. She turned back. The hallway was gone. Only a vast reflection remained, her and Daniel duplicated infinitely in the mirror behind them. "We're inside the memory," she whispered. A grandfather clock stood in the corner, silent until Mara entered fully. Then its hands began to move backward. "It's counting in reverse," she said softly. The air shimmered, and the walls brightened to younger shades. The room began to rewind through its own history. The wallpaper renewed. Furniture shifted, the vase refilled with color. In the reflection, Evelyn appeared behind Mara, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You came for me," Evelyn whispered, voice echoing from every direction. "But I came for you." Mara turned, but the room had already changed again. Now she stood alone, and the clock had stopped at the moment she'd arrived. Mara approached the full-length mirror at the far wall, drawn by a magnetic quiet. In its surface, she didn't see the room, only an endless corridor of doors, each marked 213. Her reflection blinked once, then smiled though she hadn't. "You understand now," her mirrored self whispered. "You're not investigating the disappearances. You're their continuation." The voice was calm, steady, familiar. "Every seeker becomes the kept." The reflection extended its hand toward her, palm up. Behind her, Daniel called her name, voice distant. But all Mara could see was her own eyes staring back, pleading, resigned, knowing. The moment Mara's fingers brushed the glass, the mirror shattered without sound. Light poured from it, warm, golden, blinding. When the brightness dimmed, Daniel was alone. The room was pristine again, untouched, silent. The bed perfectly made. Only the faint smell of lavender lingered. On the nightstand, the ledger sat open, a new entry written in neat handwriting. Ellison, Mara, checked in. No date followed. Daniel stumbled backward, tears welling, whispering her name. Behind him, the door to 213 swung shut of its own accord. The latch clicked once. Then silence reclaimed the hall. Morning broke soft and pale over the Briarcliff. Daniel wandered the corridors, calling Mara's name until his voice rasped raw. The lobby sat untouched, the chandelier still swaying, the ledger resting open on the counter. Thomas was gone. Every clock read a different hour. Daniel touched the page with Mara's name, the ink dry but warm. "You don't leave," he whispered. The word echoed off the walls, thin and hollow. Then from the front desk radio, static blossomed, followed by Mara's voice. "If anyone finds this, don't open the door." The same warning, looping endlessly, her tone both distant and near. Later that day, a car pulled into the gravel lot. A rental, city plates. A woman stepped out, coat fluttering in the mountain wind. Her badge caught the light. Detective Rowan. She approached the porch, notebook in hand, studying the cracked sign. Briarcliff in vacancy. Through the window, she glimpsed Daniel sitting motionless in a lobby chair, eyes distant, expression vacant. "Hello?" she called. He looked up slowly. "You're late," he said softly. "We've been waiting." The detective hesitated. Inside, the lobby clock began to tick again, for the first time since Mara vanished. Rowan entered, boots echoing against the wooden floorboards. "Detective Rowan, Cold Case Division," she announced. Daniel nodded absently. "Another one looking for her," he murmured. She frowned. "For who?" "Mara Ellison," he said. "Checked in last week." Rowan approached the desk, scanning the ledger. There it was, Mara's name. Below it, an empty line waiting. The pen lay ready beside the book, tip gleaming. "Guests are rare these days," Daniel said, voice soft as dust. Rowan hesitated. "Did she check out?" He smiled faintly. "No one does." As Rowan signed the guest book, the chandelier above trembled. A soft wind rippled through the room, though no door was open. The radio crackled again, Mara's voice looping. "You shouldn't have come alone." Rowan froze, pen mid-stroke. Daniel looked up at her, his expression serene. "It remembers kindness," he said. The lobby clock struck once. Then all the other clocks in the building followed, out of sync, chiming into chaos. Rowan turned toward the staircase. At the top stood a woman in a yellow sweater, smiling faintly before vanishing into light. The pen rolled from Rowan's hand, landing on the final blank line. By evening, the Briarcliff was still again. The pen rested across the closed ledger, a faint trace of fresh ink seeping from its tip. The lobby lights dimmed one by one until only the radio's red glow remained. On the counter, a single key appeared, 213. Outside, fog rolled over the mountains, swallowing the last daylight. The camera lingers on the ledger as its cover slowly shuts, the sound of turning pages echoing faintly, like breathing. A final voice whispers, neither Mara's nor Evelyn's, but something older, patient. "Welcome home." Then silence.